Okay, we're about to get into some isolation mode, like isolation frequency, man. So look, man, you gotta isolate. The moment you come on board, you realize who you are. On a deeper, on a deeper level. I mean, you gotta isolate now, bro. You feel me? Yeah, you gotta isolate. So this talk, man, it applies to the chosen ones and only the chosen ones. Chosen ones will understand what I'm actually talking about. You feel me? So if you are not a chosen one, it will be very, very difficult for you to relate to this talk. You feel me, fellas? So you gotta isolate, most especially if you if you figured out who you are and what you are actually out here to take care of. You feel me? You gotta isolate. Be by yourself for the most part. Embrace that solitude stage, and not mingle with a lot of people or a lot of activities that are going on out here. It's for your own good in the first place. You feel me? Yeah, it's for your own good, man. When you isolate, you're gonna buy time to to better understand what you love, what you don't love, to better understand what you probably need to let go as far as things that don't serve you, or hobbies, or things that don't align with the new self or the new person that you're actually becoming, in a sense. You feel me, fellas? Yeah, so it's good for you, it's good for your own health. You feel me, man? Because I remember, man, when I woke up and I amounted to this realization of who I am, man. As scary as that was, as scary as it was, in the first stages of my spiritual awakening, I got to a level where I was like kind of starting to comprehend, to like discern, to like understand what is going on. And yeah, my spirit guides, you feel me, as I had come to learn, were doing everything in their power to let me know that I was actually excuse me, I was actually amounting to something great. I was doing better. I was just about something that was gonna bring me joy, which I have come to witness now, after a long period of time. You feel me? Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is that looking back on those days, on them days when I was going through a spiritual awakening, and I had my spirit guides making clear to me that I needed solitude, I needed to isolate, cut out all the chatter, kind of like letting me know that I needed to just buy time with with myself, by myself, to be able to understand one or two things, man. When I look back on all that, man, I'm like very, very thankful, man, for I did that. I did that. I mean, like, it's scary. I remember it's scary. Many people don't want to be alone. They don't want to be by themselves. You feel me? It's very, like crazy in today's world. Everybody want to be surrounded by people, by other individuals and all that. Yeah, but like, I was like that in a sense before I embraced the solitude state, that state where I was very comfortable with, with being alone and being by myself. You feel me? After I took time to like reassess one or two things, like ask myself why I feel the way I feel about one or two things. You feel me? Yeah, so isolation, man, it's a very, very good state to hang out in. For the most part, if you are, if you feel confused, if you feel bogged by the noise of the world, you feel me? Isolate, bro. You feel me? You go you're gonna thank yourself for taking that time to be in solitude, to be by yourself, and not be distracted by a lot of things going on out here in the world. You feel me, fellas? Yeah. So isolate, man. You feel me? Isolate at a certain point in your life. For dudes, for us, dudes. I mean, I feel like even females, man. If you feel like you need that, that time or that space or that, stage in your life comes around and you feel the need to pull back and isolate and lock into that isolation, that solitude state, and cultivate, one or two things that really make sense to you. For in the isolation stage, man, you're gonna get to remember or to recall, who you really are, the things that matter to you, things that don't matter to you, in a sense. You feel me, fellas? Yeah, so the isolation stage, man, is very, very good. You feel me? For your mental, for your mental health. You're gonna buy time to learn a lot of things in that isolation stage. You feel me? Yeah, I remember I took trips on and off to different places. In that isolation stage, I traveled to different countries, hopscotching to different cities, just by myself. Like, I just like wake up and I feel like, okay, it's getting like it's just boring. Like, it's where I am, it's boring me, and I just I just hop on probably a bus or just board a plane and just be in another new place, where I could just like be by myself and just kind of like consolidate one or two things as far as my mental constant, in a sense. You feel me, fellas? For even the great men, the likes of Osho, I read about a dude from India. It's called Osho. I read about Buddha. I mean, all the great men. I read about Mahatma Gandhi from India. Those people took time to be by themselves, away from the crowd, away from society, to be able to like cultivate what really matters. You feel me? What really felt true to them, in a sense. You feel me, fellas? Yeah, so isolation is a very, very good one. You feel me? Most especially if you feel that pull to withdraw from society, from the world, from the chaos and all that. You gotta get out there and just be by yourself, embrace solitude, and just hang in that isolation stage. You feel me, fellas? Yeah, so that's what's up, man. That's the message I meant to like share with you guys in this clip. Make it a point to subscribe, like my videos, and leave a comment for me, man. Share with your like-minded friends so that we can help many you know um get enlightened out here. You feel me, fellas? Love.